Hello, I'm Allison Walker, and this is the United States Government lesson for EDU 290. The government is broken up into three different branches, which are executive, legislative, and judicial branches. They all make up what is known as the United States government. First, we're going to talk about the legislative branch. It is made up of the Senate and the House of Representatives. These two groups are also known as Congress. So whenever you hear the word Congress, you know that they're talking about the House of Representatives and the Senate combined. They write and simplify bills to become laws which are used in the 50 states. I've edited a YouTube video which is by Schoolhouse Rock, and it's about how a bill becomes a law and how there's so many steps for a bill to become a law. We're first going to talk about the Senate. There's 100 Senate seats. They serve for 6 years. Their requirements are you need to be at least 30 years old or older. You need to be a United States citizen for at least 9 years, and you have to be the resident of the state in which he or she wants to represent. There's 2 representatives from each state, so if you think there's 50 states, times that by 2, you get 100, so that's where they get the 100 seats for Senate. Next, we're going to talk about the House of Representatives. There's 423 House of Representatives seats. They serve for only 2 years, which is a little bit different than the Senate. They have a few requirements also. They need to be at least 25 years or older, and they need to be a U.S. citizen for at least 7 years. Each state has a different number of representatives depending on the state's population. That's how many, depending on their population, that's how they get the number of representatives they do. Okay, a little quiz time. What is the 2 parts of Congress? If you answered Senate and House of Representatives, you are correct. What are the requirements to be in the Senate? You must be at least 30 years old or older. You need to be a United States citizen for at least 9 years, and you need to be a resident of the state in which you want to represent, is the correct answer. Next, we're going to move to the executive branch. The president is known as the head of the executive branch. They serve for 4 years. A total of 4 years equals 1 term, and they can serve up to 2 terms if they get reelected. So they can serve in the White House for a total of 8 years and 2 terms. The requirements, they need to be at least 35 years or older. They need to be born in the United States. They also need to live at least 14 years as a U.S. resident. And right now in office, we have Barack Obama as our president. Also, we're going to talk about the vice president, who is right now Joe Biden. They're also known as second in command of the executive branch. The vice president works alongside the president. The vice president is also known as the president of the Senate. He works hand in hand with the Senate. He has the same requirements as the president, and if something happens to the president where they're unable to do their duty, then the vice president takes over. Also, a few other things about the executive branch. The president is elected by the Electoral College. The president picks the vice president, so the president is going to pick someone that they work well with and knows that if something happens to them, the vice president will do a great job. The responsibility of the executive branch is to make sure the government runs smoothly and laws are enforced. A little quiz time. What is the main job of the executive branch? To make sure laws are enforced and the government runs smoothly is the correct answer. Next, we're going to move to the judicial branch. It is also known as the Supreme Court, so if you ever hear the word Supreme Court, you know that they're talking about the judicial branch now. There's a total of 9 judges that make up the Supreme Court. The president appoints the judges, but the Senate has to vote them into the Supreme Court. Supreme Court judges serve for life. They are in it for life. their main job is to explain and interpret the Constitution to the best of their abilities. How many judges make up the Supreme Court? If you answered 9, you are correct. Checks and balance system is also defined as a system where the 3 branches of government check each other, so no one branch has more power. This is very important in the government. We don't want one branch to have more power than the other. There's an example of how this works in our government. If the president doesn't like a law, they can veto it, the law that Congress has passed. But Congress can then override that veto by getting 2/3 vote from both houses. So they have to get 2/3 vote from the Senate and 2/3 votes from the House of Representatives. And then if it passes and the Supreme Court can declare it's unconstitutional, the law is unconstitutional, so it will not become a law. I've also attached an image of the checks and balance system of the 3 branches. Quiz time. How long can the president term serve if considering they've been re-elected? A, 12 years, a total of 2 terms. B, 8 years, a total of 3 terms. C, 4 years, a total of 3 terms. D, 8 years, a total of 2 terms. If you answered D, you are correct. We're also going to continue. What system is used to make sure one branch does not have more power than the other? A, checks and branches. B, checks and balances. C, balanced power. Or D, power systems. If you answered B, you're correct. The next 2 slides are just where I got my information from. It shows the pictures of where I've gotten them from. I hope you learned a lot and you enjoyed my slide.